The stars outside the observation deck shimmered like a galaxy's heartbeat. Soft candlelight flickered across the polished glass, casting your reflection in amber gold. You weren't alone. Behind you, footsteps as light as feathers approached. Then a voice, sweet, teasing, dangerously calm, brushed your ear like silk. Congratulations, human. You've been assigned a wife, and it's me. You turned, and there she was. Petite. Radiant. Alien. Her lips curved in a knowing smile that made your chest ache. Don't worry, she whispered. You'll learn to love me. You never asked to be married. Especially not like this. 3 weeks ago, Earth officially joined the Interstellar Pairbond Accord, a massive diplomatic treaty built on one unshakable belief: peaceful galactic relations begin at the bedroom. According to the new law, every unattached adult human was automatically enrolled in the Intercultural Partnering Initiative, a fancy name for legally binding matchmaking across species. You were just a terror engineering technician, a nobody with a shift schedule and a paycheck. But a routine biometric update at your work terminal triggered something. Within 2 hours, a sleek diplomatic ship arrived at your orbital construction site. Men in dark uniforms greeted you with practiced smiles and congratulated you on your selection. They gave you a sleek silver envelope. Inside it, a marriage certificate with your name, and hers. Xylara K. Illyrian. You'd never met an Illyrian in person. They were rare, elegant, almost mythical. Their skin shimmered with faint luminescence, their voices could tune frequency to emotion, and their culture believed the stars were conscious gods. But all you could think about at the time was that your name was now linked, forever, with hers. And now, 2 days later, you stood on the observation deck of Orbital City 9 as she stared into you like you were her next sunrise. She was small, barely to your shoulder, but carried herself with unsettling certainty. Her eyes, a soft lilac under the starlight, studied your face like it was an exam she'd already aced. You're nervous, she said. I'm confused. She smiled again. That's what they all say. At first. You tried not to stare at the way her hips swayed as she walked to the edge of the deck, her long silver robe trailing behind her like mist. Her presence smelled faintly of ozone and wildflowers. This isn't normal, you muttered. Marriage shouldn't be forced. Agreed, she said without turning. That's why I requested you. Your heart tripped over itself. What? She turned back to you, her head tilted slightly. I read your profile. Your file. Watched the way you fixed that orbital relay during the meteor storm. I liked your hands. And you're quiet. Most humans are noisy inside. I didn't apply for this, you said. No. But I did. For you. The words hit differently when spoken by someone like her. You should have walked away. Said no. Filed a protest. But curiosity had teeth, and her smile tugged at you in a way logic couldn't defend against. We have 72 hours, she said, reaching into a side pouch and holding up a glowing wristband. Bonding assessment. If we're incompatible, you're released. And if not? Her smile softened. Then I'll be your wife. In every sense. You swallowed. The next few hours were a blur. You boarded the Solstice Bloom, a massive generation cruiser ferrying diplomatic pairs to new frontier colonies. Your stateroom was nothing like the metal bunks you were used to. This one had a view of 2 suns, velvet sheets, and a shower that played music. But the space felt smaller with her in it. Xylara moved like she was born to dance in low gravity. She didn't demand attention, she magnetized it. Every time she brushed past you, her fingers lingered a little longer. Every laugh was half a secret. You tried to ignore it. Tried to pretend you were just here for protocol. But your body had other ideas. That night, you both sat on the edge of the bed. Close, but not touching. Tell me something real, she said. You looked at her. Really looked. I used to stare at Jupiter's storm from the colony outpost and wonder if it ever got tired of spinning. She tilted her head. That's real. Your turn. She leaned closer, her hair brushing your shoulder. I've never kissed anyone, she said. Not even Illyrian style. I was raised in a family that believed love should come after duty. And now, she whispered, I want both. Your fingers brushed. She didn't pull away. But just as you leaned in, just as your lips were a breath from hers, the lights flickered. The gravity plates gave a groaning shudder. A high-pitched whine screeched through the walls, and the whole ship lurched sideways. You fell forward, catching yourself on your palms. She tumbled against you, gasping, her arms wrapping instinctively around your shoulders. Then came the sound no one ever wants to hear in space, the emergency klaxon. Xylara looked up at you, wide-eyed. That's the internal alarm. You were already moving, grabbing the emergency manual and booting the nav feed. Thrusters misfiring, you muttered. Decks 6 through 9 offline. Something's wrong. From the intercom, a voice crackled. All bonded pairs, remain in quarters. Repeat, remain in quarters. Xylara was breathing fast, her hand still tangled in your shirt. This wasn't part of the test. You met her gaze. No. It's not. Then, just for a moment, you heard something else. A faint, rhythmic tapping. Metal on metal. Coming from the corridor outside your stateroom. Someone, or something, was out there. Watching. The tapping stopped the second you moved toward the door. You stood still, breathing hard. Xylara crept up behind you, her hand gently finding yours. The silence thickened. Then, just before the corridor lights flickered again, you saw it, an elongated shadow disappearing behind the curve of the passage. No footsteps. No crew. Something was watching. Or maybe someone. Xylara's grip tightened. I don't like this. I know, you whispered. Stay close. Against the voice of every safety protocol in your brain, you opened the door and slipped into the hall. It was empty. Lights pulsed dim blue along the floor, guiding the way to the engine decks. Your instincts, honed through years working on reactors and terraformers, told you this wasn't a systems failure. Someone had disabled parts of the ship. Intentionally. Xylara stayed behind you, silent, alert. Her glow, usually soft, now shimmered a little brighter, illuminating the narrow passage like a torch in fog. She moved gracefully, a whisper of warmth against your back. I can bypass crew lock protocols, she murmured. There's an interface in the engineering hub. How? She gave a small smile. I told you, I watched you fix a relay with a sonic knife. You think I can't tweak a system? It was oddly thrilling, watching her hands dance over the panel just outside the engine room. Her touch was different from a human's, precise but fluid, like she felt the circuits instead of just seeing them. The panel lit up, hissed open, and revealed the main diagnostics core. Inside, the engine room was chaos. Sparks glimmered from blown conduits, and the smell of fried insulation clung to the air. Gravity felt uneven here, like the floor tilted beneath each step. You found a diagnostic pad half-crushed under a fallen pipe. The ship hadn't just malfunctioned. Its thrusters had been manually rerouted. Sabotage. Xylara exhaled slowly. This wasn't an accident. You nodded grimly. Someone wanted this ship off course. She paused, brushing a loose strand of red gold hair behind her ear. Or someone wanted us off course. The thought hit you like a punch to the gut. Of the 10 bonded pairs aboard, only 2 were interspecies. You and Xylara, and a pair from Centauri Prime, both of whom you hadn't seen since launch. Suspicion bloomed in your chest. Who would want to sabotage newlyweds? Why? Back in your stateroom, the lights were still dim. You scanned the room instinctively, checking for signs of tampering. Nothing obvious. But the tension lingered. Xylara sat at the edge of the bed, her legs tucked beneath her, watching you with unreadable eyes. I didn't think it would start this way, she said softly. What did you think? You asked, sitting beside her. She shrugged. We'd argue. Laugh awkwardly. Maybe dance under artificial stars. I didn't imagine sabotage. You turned to her. Why did you really request me? She didn't answer immediately. When she did, her voice was barely above a whisper. Because I was lonely. Not in the way you think Illyrians don't marry for affection. We merge for diplomacy. For position. I wanted something different. Your fingers found hers. And you thought I was that. I hoped. Silence. Then, slowly, she laid her head on your shoulder. The moment stretched. Her skin was warm against yours. Her breath steady. "I like this," she whispered. "So do I." You could have stayed like that forever. But a soft ping interrupted the quiet. A message had been routed through the private terminal by your bedside, an encrypted file. Zylara frowned. "That wasn't there earlier." You opened it. The file glitched, then opened to display a single glowing crystal icon. It pulsed rhythmically. Zylara's face paled. "That's Illyrian code encryption," she said. "Tier 4. Diplomatic courier level. Did you bring this?" "No." She stared at it like it was a ghost. "I've never seen this file." Cautiously, you inserted the data crystal into the translator module. It hissed, then revealed a flickering visual, fragments of a conversation. Voice distorted. Faces blurred. But the content made your blood freeze. "Sabotage the bonded pairs. Make it look like failed compatibility. The accord must collapse." Another voice: "The humans will turn on it first. Their media will do the rest." You turned to Zylara, her face stricken with disbelief. "They want to destroy the accord. They're using us to do it," you said. The lights flickered again. A low tremor passed beneath your feet, barely noticeable, but it was there. Somewhere deep in the ship, something was still shifting. You both sat in silence. Zylara eventually spoke. "You know what this means?" "Yeah," you said. "We're not just married. We're targets." Later that night, you stood at the small viewport in your room. Zylara approached quietly, a blanket wrapped around her like a cloak. She touched the glass, and it shimmered faintly where her fingers met it. "The stars here are different from home," she said. "How so?" "They pulse slower. Like they're waiting." "For what?" She looked up at you. "For us to decide what kind of story this will be." The room dimmed. The quiet deepened. She turned to you then, and without asking, she kissed you. It wasn't a perfect kiss. It was unsure, tentative. But it was real. And that made it dangerous. Because the moment her lips met yours, you knew something had changed. Not just between you, but in you. You were no longer just a passenger on this trip. No longer just a technician or a forced partner. You were hers. And someone didn't want that to happen. By the time the solstice bloom reached orbit above Lumen 4, the silence between you and Zylara had become sacred. Not empty. Full. Full of glances that lingered too long. Full of near touches. Of whispered good mornings and slower good nights. Of coded messages only lovers, or people about to fall in love, could read. Still, you hadn't spoken about the kiss. Not directly. It hovered between you, delicate, unbroken, undeniable. But reality couldn't be ignored. Someone aboard that ship had tried to sabotage your pairing. Someone wanted the accord to collapse. And now, Lumen 4 would test everything. As you disembarked onto the terraformed soil of the colony world, a chill crept up your spine. The air was breathable, but the tension clung to the wind. A military escort met all newly arrived couples. No fanfare. No celebration. No welcome. One of the officers scanned you both with a glare that lasted a second too long. "Quarantine protocol," she barked. "All mixed pairings are assigned separate quarters. Temporary. Security review pending." Zylara's fingers twitched toward yours instinctively, but you both said nothing. You were separated for the first time in days. The next 72 hours passed like sand through broken glass. You tried to follow orders, attend health checks, respond to colony orientation pings, eat at regulated hours, but your thoughts never left her. You found yourself tracing the memory of her kiss across your lips, replaying it like a song only you could hear, and wondering, was it real for her, too? Zylara, it turned out, had not been idle. She reached out through the encrypted neural bands embedded in your wrist cuffs, meant for safety, but now used to whisper in code. "Found a private node. I'm sending you coordinates." The message vanished before you could reread it. That night, under the pale green shimmer of Lumen's twin moons, you slipped through the colony's southern gardens, off limits, of course. The plants here pulsed faintly with bioluminescent life, casting soft waves of light on the path. At the far edge of the enclosure, In the roots of a massive weeping tree, you saw her. Wrapped in shadow. Waiting. She didn't speak. Just walked up and hugged you tight. For a moment, your world realigned. And in the quiet rustle of leaves, her lips found your ear. "We have to move quickly," she said. "The data crystal? It's only part of it." I decoded a hidden partition. She slipped a microchip into your hand. It was small, sleek, warm. "What is it?" you asked. "A list," she whispered. "Names. Dozens. Of bonded pairs marked for failure. Staged breakdowns. Disappearances. You mean murders, if needed." Your heart went cold. "We have to go public. We'd never survive the attempt," you said, voice low. "They'll shut us down the moment we transmit off-world." "I know," she replied. Then she looked up at you with those violet eyes that always seemed to know more than they should. "But I also know something else." "What?" "I trust you." You weren't sure whether it was the words or the way she said them, but your chest tightened. And before you could respond, she leaned up and kissed you again, this time slower, deeper, with the quiet urgency of someone who didn't know if there'd be another chance. Her hands threaded into your hair. And for a moment, the stars forgot how to shine. When you pulled apart, she didn't let go of your shirt. She rested her forehead to yours. "We'll never be safe again," she said. "We weren't safe yesterday either." The next day, you attended the colony's interspecies cultural fair, mandatory for all paired couples. On the surface, it was a celebration. Food stalls, music, choreographed dances between bonded partners. But behind the laughter was tension. You and Zylara played your parts. Smiled. Danced. Held hands for the cameras. She wore a soft sapphire dress with glowing threadwork that shimmered like a liquid sky. You whispered into her ear as you spun her, and she laughed the way someone would if they hadn't uncovered a political conspiracy. "Is it working?" you asked. "For now," she said. "But keep dancing." The plan was simple. While the fair's data hub broadcasted colony festivities to the Accord's MediaNet, Zylara would splice in the evidence. The encrypted footage. The names. The voices. The truth. All you had to do was keep people watching. You kissed her during the final song. A public kiss. Not protocol. The crowd gasped. Some clapped. Others scowled. But the moment was enough. Enough for her to finish the upload. Enough for the truth to ripple across the stars. And just as the music died down, just as you turned to sneak out, 2 guards grabbed your arms. "Under arrest," they growled. "For breach of cultural integrity law." You didn't resist. You didn't have to. Because right then, every screen in the plaza flickered. The lights shifted. The transmission began. It wasn't just a reveal, it was a fire. The voice recordings. The tampered ship diagnostics. The list of names. The coded conversations between high-ranking officials who had planned to sabotage the entire Accord. Whispers spread like a virus. Then, a message in Zylara's voice, clear and full of that same fierce calm you'd first heard on the observation deck. "We were forced to marry. Then they tried to force us apart. But we chose each other. And we chose truth." Gasps. Shouts. One of the guards let go of you. The other simply froze. In the chaos, Zylara slipped her fingers into yours. "Run?" she asked. "Always." You didn't know where the path would lead. You didn't know if you'd even get a chance to make it off planet. But you knew one thing, and it pulsed in your chest like a second heartbeat. You weren't just assigned a partner. You'd found her. And now, the whole galaxy would know what that meant. The sky above Lumen 4 burned violet as dusk fell. You ran with her through the back alleys of the colony's diplomatic quarter, breathless, laughing, terrified. Behind you, alarms screamed. Boots pounded. Authority drones whirred overhead, scanning, hunting. But somehow, the world felt alive. Real. Like the moment after a storm when everything finally breathes again. Zylara clutched your hand, her robe fluttering behind her like a comet's tail. "This way," she gasped, yanking you toward a service tunnel that wasn't on any map. Emergency access to the quantum relay tower. Your legs burned. Your chest ached. But you didn't let go. They had branded you a traitor, a rebel, a saboteur of peace. But all you had ever done was fall in love. The access tunnel led to a narrow shaft carved directly into the colony's central relay spire, a towering structure that punched into the upper atmosphere. Its top, home to a quantum broadcast dish, could reach every Accord world in the quadrant. And if you could reach it first, the truth could never be silenced again. You scaled the interior ladder in silence. One rung at a time. Xylara's breath was steady beside you. Her glow dimmed from exertion, but her eyes never left yours. At the halfway point, you paused. Are you sure? You asked. She looked down at you, strands of red gold hair clinging to her cheeks. About this, she asked. No. About me. Her expression softened. I've been sure since you told me Jupiter might be tired of spinning. Then she kept climbing. When you reached the top, the relay room was dark, abandoned. No guards yet. The meteor storm brewing in the upper stratosphere had knocked out half the surveillance grid. One moment of luck. One breath of grace. Xylara dropped to her knees before the uplink terminal, hands flying over the interface with surgical precision. I'll trigger a wideband beacon. Once it activates, every Accord channel will receive our evidence and our story. You stepped to the glass. Outside, the meteor shower began, shards of light streaking across the violet sky. It looked like the stars were weeping. Then the door slammed open. A man in a grey envoy uniform stepped in. Calm. Clean. Dead-eyed. You recognized him. Ambassador Kellen Reese. Human delegate to the Accord. One of the voices from the data crystal. I warned them, he said softly. I told them mixed pairings were unnatural. Unstable. Untrustworthy. You stood in front of Xylara instinctively. Step aside, he said, raising a sleek plasma pistol. I'll erase this transmission. You'll walk free. She won't. But you will. You didn't move. She's not human, he hissed. No, you replied. She's better. His hand twitched. Xylara stood up, slowly. Do it, then, she said, stepping forward. Shoot. But the moment you do, the broadcast goes live. I tied the relay to my heart rate. Reese froze. You're bluffing, he growled. She smiled. Am I? You'd never seen anyone look so dangerous while glowing softly. Reese hesitated for a second too long. Then you stepped forward. You failed, you said. People want love. Not rules. Not cages. And you couldn't stand that. He raised the weapon again, but before he could fire, the meteor shower intensified and the relay tower shuddered violently. A fire burst in the wiring overhead. A support beam groaned. Then the power surged. The console lit up. The signal launched. It was done. Reese screamed and lunged forward, but Xylara twisted around him with dancer's grace, disarming him in one fluid motion. You grabbed his collar and shoved him against the wall just as the door burst open behind you, colony guards, cameras, diplomats from both species flooding in. They'd seen the broadcast. They'd heard the names. They knew everything. Reese was done. Hours later, you stood on the rooftop of the colony's central dome. Below, the celebration began: music, laughter, peace. The pair bond Accord had survived. No, it had evolved. Strengthened. Because of you. Xylara stepped beside you in a pale crimson dress stitched with stars. Her glow returned. Gentle. Certain. You saved the Accord, you said. She turned to you. We saved each other. I'm not letting go, you whispered. Good, she said. Because I already sent our honeymoon request. You raised an eyebrow. Where to? She leaned close, her lips brushing your ear. Anywhere the stars don't speak. You laughed. She smiled. Then, slowly, she took your hands and raised them to her chest. Her heart beat steady under your palms. I don't care what the Accord says, she whispered. No government gets to decide this. Decide what? That you're mine. The two of you kissed beneath the silver rain of stardust, the colony lights below flickering like candles on a galactic altar. And though the universe remained vast and dangerous, you weren't afraid. Because she was yours. And you were hers. Forever.